crazy love. Give me love, crazy love. Got a fine sense of humor when I'm feeling low down. When I come to her when no one else is around, she takes away my trouble, takes away my grief,
I wouldn't worry about it.
takes away
It's like the end all be all.
she gives me love, love, crazy love. Give me love, crazy love. And I need her in the daytime. Oh Lord, I need her in the night. Wanna wrap my loving arms around her. Kiss her and hold her tight. When I'm returning from so far away, give me sweet loving, ooh, right at top of my day. When I'm with
What song is that?
that's where I belong.
I know it's Crazy Love, but who's singing it?
It's Aki Vermis. I love his music. The way he sings is very soulful.
Pretty cool.
Okay, so yeah, great. So this is the Startup Lab with Monty and Andrea, and we're talking about the economic risk of not embracing blue ocean tech. Really, we're asking the question. We we were sort of a little stuck on not having the answer because probably our bias. Monty did have a few answers. Let's see.
And it's really kind of based off of, the original opinion is that you should embrace it. But I guess the risk, and Vera actually did mention this, the risk was having to support and maintain that infrastructure, because that could be a big hurdle if there is no infrastructure in place, from doing hackathons to doing innovation to technology as a whole. If you don't maintain it, it becomes degraded very quickly. If you don't have fiber optics, it becomes hard. If you don't have Wi-Fi, it becomes hard. It kind of reminds me of not Twitter. I guess it is Twitter. The whole idea of having Periscope Summit in New York was kind of a debacle because they didn't have good Wi-Fi. And if you got Periscope Summit with tons of people periscoping all at the same time, and you don't have the Wi-Fi to be able to do it at the same time, you end up looking kind of foolish. Hence, they're doing it now in San Francisco, which has a great deal more, at least in the location, a great deal more ability to manage and maintain technological events like that.
Thank you, Vera.
She said, "Thank you, Vera."
I think that is a very good point. I think it's a very good point. In economies where the infrastructure is very, I guess, in terms of technology, slim to none, and also the supporting infrastructure. So we would also need venues in different universities.
Universities are definitely. I mean, that's part of why I think Stanford does so well in what they do, because a lot of stuff starts with them as a system, as a community, as a base of being able to accomplish things. It allows them to have errors, have things fail, have challenges, but within a safe laboratory. And then when things go well, they can leave the lab and still be connected to the university, which then allows them to say, okay, the university has the basic infrastructure. We need more. Let's leave. That safe environment to experiment, to test, to maintain allows you to then build later. But I definitely would agree. having the ability to have your bandwidth to expand the technology beyond what you have as your initial environment. Again, I still go back to Twitter, and I'm always thinking Twitter because they were acquired. Periscope, doing that event in New York, it had benefits because people got together as a community. But the bigger issue is that people that were periscoping were like, man, we couldn't get online. We were blocking each other.
We were talking about that. They got Wi-Fi, right? Okay, we have a company. Go ahead.
No, you can say it. You tell them the story.
Really? No, I'm bad at storytelling. Okay, well, you tell them.
Well, it's what I'll do. You tell them the story. I'll put the spiel.
Okay. So we have a company called Lane Mobile Apps, and also a company in Guam as well called Venture Guam, and we're basically acting as
we're basically acting as a conduit to help people to really take their initial ideas from the idea to the implementation. And with that being said, Venture Guam's approach is to help people within Guam to help build startups, to be sort of that accelerator that not just accelerates them from the idea, but it inspires them to say, let's take it public. Let's expand it to a larger audience. Let's be sort of an accelerator, which the difference between an accelerator and an incubator is essentially taking someone at a faster approach to understand what it is they can either do to succeed or fail. And as we take them in that faster approach, it allows them to get an MVP, a minimum viable product, in a very concise, precise manner.
See, doesn't it sound so much nicer when he says it?
No.
Yeah. But that's what we do. It's a very fun thing for us, boring to many people. Fun for us. And did I tell you the story? I did tell you the story about, I was just going back to your thought on the universities and having that sort of testing ground. I told you the story of
No, but say it again.
fiber. Okay, well, it's it goes back to Stanford and San Francisco and how Google sort of owns a little community in Stanford, basically.
Not a little, it's a pretty big community.
Yeah, it's a huge community. And it allows them, in essence, and one of the people that we know, it allows them, in essence, to test their technology, their hardware. And that is sort of the, I guess what you say, the university and Google together in that very specific geolocation allows them to test technology. It allows them, it has that stable infrastructure, like you were saying. And that's sort of the emphasis on economy and what it is that with the lack of it, you can't create the universities and the testing ground. With the lack of tech and tech companies coming to these specific economies, that's the risk for me. That's what I see. If it's not there, it can't grow. It can't be sort of an emergent technology. You can have different pieces, but nothing working together. So you might have a player in hardware, might have a player in software, you might have a player sort of in enterprise and in education. But if we're not really looking at the true picture, the true circle of how it's emergent and how it works together, all these different pieces playing a very important role, then you're missing out. You're missing out on blue ocean. Because I think people think blue ocean in terms of economics, they confuse it with a blue ocean technology or a blue ocean product. But they don't think of it from an economic perspective, which is what's happening, as we found out in Africa right now, mobile technology and creating that infrastructure where literally half of the population is now, on a mobile device. And when you have that sort of technology come into an economy, then you also create new markets and new services and new exports, and it becomes this emergent system. But most people or most growing economies are very afraid because it means what does it mean really when there's no infrastructure here and when there's big businesses coming in? It means you have very little control over the current distribution of wealth. And I think that's one of the biggest hurdles that places like the islands and places like, very isolated areas are afraid of.
And I think one of the challenges and opportunities at the same time is looking at like the Trans-Pacific Partnership and how people are looking to position that specifically with Guam in mind, because the reality is there's a lot of opportunity to deal with the Asia Pacific areas in trade and trying to manage that trade partnership a great deal better than what is currently being managed. When we think about Japan, we think about Toyota, when we think about China, we think about, how they're devaluing the dollar. When we think about a more level playing field, we think about how we can then become, we can have more Googles in Japan or Googles in China, and how these companies can actually be more directly engaged in those economies. Vice versa, right now we have a lot of that money and a lot of those businesses coming to the States. Being able to balance that trading field, being able to balance that partnership allows for places like Guam to be a much more involved role in that society as a whole.
So, Monty, it's Monty again. Monty.
Right.
I love that. Tech talent born in Africa will play a transformational role in global IT. Agreed. A lot of the people that I know, and I'm sure Monty knows as well, a lot of them are going to Africa. I mean, routinely making trips to Africa in tech for that very reason.
Right.
I think anytime you identify, and I just said this last night, anytime you see a gap or you observe a gap, it's like sort of prime real estate, if you will, right?
It is. And tremendous opportunity for upside. I mean, at the end of the day, it's kind of like the fact that China is able to do what it's doing is because there's been such a huge upside. That there's so much of a large economy that they can then say, let's focus our energies on doing this from an industrial perspective. And they can have an entire warehouse or an entire factory dedicated to the research, the analysis, the development of the particular set of skills that allows you to be much better at building a cell phone, much better at building different components. And it's because ultimately they haven't had the same infrastructure that we've already built. They're sort of where we were in the 19th century, in the 21st century.
And I think that's the major problem with you identifying the key market that you're looking for, especially in terms of economics. That is the major problem, because they look at it from a perspective of, we want to get into that vein of thinking that we're going to compete with people who already have an established structure, who are already 20 years ahead of the game. And it puts the economy in a position where the only place that you can truly compete is in terms of labor. And why do people go to China? Why do people go to the Philippines? Why is that? Because they're playing on a field where their competition is reduced costs. She's singing.
Yeah, she is.
We need a little singing in here.
Right.
So, unless anybody has some opinions or thoughts, I mean, I'm really interested in what people think in terms of this whole.
Do people even know what blue ocean is? I'm always curious. I remember there was a time where I had no idea what blue
Ocean and red ocean? Probably not. Why don't you tell them? I have no idea what that is.
Whatever. I guess the history of the blue ocean concept was really, I kind of go back to what I was talking with Dexter, and Dexter's a partner who works with Intel, and the whole idea is, I guess, looking at the concept of Silicon Valley and how there was a time where there was no Intel, there were no silicon chips. There was just transistors, and transistors were almost like the light filaments. Well, there was a time where light bulbs were the filaments that people actually use for computers to do technology. And then Shockley created the transistor. And the transistor was like a little metal piece that allowed you to have a switch from one element to another element. Expanding past that concept was the microchip. So the people from Intel, which, I'm skipping past like decades of history, but the people from Intel who were Gordon Moore and Robert Noyce came up with an idea of building a microchip. And that microchip was essentially what created the concept of silicon in Silicon Valley. That's essentially where silicon came from was that whole initial thought that we can do things better than this transistor. That became the microchip. That microchip was blue ocean. That microchip allowed us to have the computers and the technology that we have today based off of his advancement from the transistor, which was, one decision-making process, to the microchip, which then Gordon Moore's advanced the idea that every 18 months, technology will more than double or more than advance. And that law has relatively stayed the same since he initially came up with that idea.
I feel like I want you to tell them more. Monty says, thank you, Monty. So, with the, this is a long article, Trans-Pacific Partnership. Okay. Well, Monty sent an article on what the U.S. government doesn't really want you to know about the Trans-Pacific Partnership. By the way, great headline. I want to know more about Blue Ocean. Me too. I'm so uninitiated. Tell me more about Blue Ocean. I want to know.
So what's interesting is that that's where a lot of the focus is within Silicon Valley. And that's where we're talking about the innovation of doing things in areas that don't necessarily have the infrastructure. It's kind of hard to really focus on Blue Ocean if you don't have access to the web. So case in point, being able to do something innovative like a Periscope Summit in New York, in certain places in New York, where they don't necessarily have the technological infrastructure to get everybody online at the same time, it becomes a challenge. Versus doing it in San Francisco, which has an entire network that's focused on people doing technology, people that do a much more robust ability to have an ecosystem. There's not just a culture, but an ecosystem that allows you to support what you're doing from an innovation, from a technological advancement, back to the idea that you have like a hacker dojo. Hacker dojos, it's not really an incubator. It's more of a co-working space, but a co-working space where people that are from Google, from Yahoo, from all the top tech companies come there to just hack out ideas. That also is something that helps you to say, we can do it together, and together we'll build Pinterest. Together we'll build a new type of GoPro, a new type of phone, a new type of anything. Blue Ocean is really what went from the tapes to the CDs. That was sort of a Blue Ocean step. From CDs to iTunes was another Blue Ocean step. And so it was an advancement that was a non-existent market became capitalized on based off of a new technology or an enhancement of something that was initially considered. I'm also interested because it still says I'm now, one of us is in Chicago, the other's in Michigan on the map.
Oh, guys, I'm on a private island. I'm not anywhere near wherever that place is. I want to know about.
I wonder when they're going to get the maps even close.
When was the concept first conceived?
The Blue Ocean concept? It's hard to really say. I mean, I want to say it was coined probably more than 20 years ago. I know Intel's concept in terms of the microchip. I mean, people are always trying to advance technology. And, the quick history of the Silicon Valley concept was, HP was like the original concept of building from Stanford's infrastructure before Google. HP, they were, Hewlett and Packard were two students at Stanford when they were building something that was, Blue Ocean technology-wise, and they weren't building it with the intention of using it for everything. They were just building it because they were engineers trying to do something cool. And lo and behold, the government came along and said, hey, we want to get what you have as a service, and they became a customer. And so because of that, they had to build a company. The company they built was HP. That was sort of the basis for them having that technology in the area. but it wasn't necessarily the implementation of Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley literally goes back to Shockley coming from the West Coast coming from the West Coast to the East Coast, then having success, and then coming back to the West Coast in the area where they had the orchards and the peaches and what have you, and saying, I want to build a company. And that company was Shockley's company. And he hired people from MIT and from Stanford and all those cool places. And because he hired those people, they decided, hey, we're going to try and do something ourselves. And that company they tried to do themselves was Fairchild. Fairchild was the company that essentially allowed them to say, hey, we're going to test this initial theory. They were called the treacherous eight because essentially they took the mind gap that was within Shockley's company and created Fairchild. So these 8 treacherous people reached out to the East Coast to get money. And people just doubted the fact that they were actually even real people. But they're the 8 top scientists saying, hey, we want to start our own company. They don't really have any money. They left to start Fairchild. Fairchild then expands and does some things that are good and positive. But the people that are treacherous 8 are still treacherous. So they all decide to leave in one way, shape, or form. The last 2 that stayed at the Fairchild company was Gordon Moore and Robert Noyce. Gordon Moore and Robert Noyce stayed, and then finally, Robert Noyce decides to leave, and they create a 1-page business plan and create Intel. And the funny part about that is they weren't even the ones that created the idea of the first microchip. They were just the ones that perfected the idea of the microchip. But that's where really sort of the blue ocean concepts of how people were just building an ecosystem, an innovation ecosystem that allowed them to support that process.
So while Monty was sharing the conception of it, I was looking up who actually wrote the book, I guess you'd say, who wrote the book on it, and it was W. Chan and Kim. I have no idea how to pronounce the last name. Mawburn, something like that. Let me do that. See, that's why you're here. And it was a book published in 2005, which is basically getting all these examples of what a true blue ocean strategy was, and getting people familiar with that concept. And it's been sort of that key phrase that's been floating around everywhere. So to be the person who wrote the book on blue ocean strategy is really amazing.
It's kind of like Daryl, who wrote the book on Periscope, but that's a whole.
And which also brings us to the next point of innovation in terms of blue ocean strategy, which I think is what Eric Ries is doing with Lean Startup. Really merging innovation and blue ocean in a way that's very structured and in a way that people can analyze it, real business people and companies. And Eric Ries, he's so connected with some of the biggest companies and the companies that sort of churn out different product lines in terms of innovation, that it just makes sense to start paying attention more, if you're not, to him as well.
It's funny seeing all the commercials for GE, but then actually physically hearing what GE has to say in terms of how they're actually innovative, how they're building based on the lean startup approach. You start to understand more about why the company is who it is. And again, it's been around since Ben Franklin. So
I think that's one of the challenges that many people are facing now, especially on the internet, especially with global economics, is that how do we implement technology in a way that's very lean but innovative, and how do we do it in our current infrastructure? How, as leaders in this community, especially in startups, how do we help to eliminate that fear, the challenge, that make it possible for people in isolated economies, or for people, for example, you're in DC, and that's halfway, or that's like literally across the country from Silicon Valley. So how do we eliminate that fear, and how can we? And I think it's odd that DC is a perfect place to go public, and yet the actual tech sector is on the other side of the world, or the country.
I think it's probably less. I think it's less a good place to go public. It's even hard to make a business to become incorporated in the Washington metropolitan area. It's not hard to make it incorporated in the area. It's hard specifically in DC.
New ones are appearing all the time, covering just about every industry you can think of. Discover the rich and varied research related to Blue Ocean strategy.
I think many people write a book doesn't necessarily make them an expert. It goes back to what's been their, I don't want to say the 10,000 hours, but have they spent that 10,000 hours in that subject? Have they been so versed and so deeply rooted in it that they understand it more than a cursory view? The reality is, within the first 80 hours, within the first month of consistent study, you can learn 80% of anything you need to know about a subject. But it's still that 20% that remains that makes you sort of the expert or the guru in it. And that 20% could take 20 years. But it's really about, that 10,000 hour effort that you could put into it that makes you much more successful.
Which goes back to the very the generalist specialist, which is this new term that they're coining, and how that's a very important sort of characteristic for CEOs in today's world, because you need that sort of 30 days to learn a specific subject so that you can be well versed and understand how the landscape changes over time. I think what Monty said in terms of just that cursory view, the people that we pay attention to are not people who just write books. They're people who have the experience, they're engaged in creating the landscape and fashioning the infrastructure. I think the internet being as vast as it is, and the way or the ability to communicate means that we have to be very discerning. I mean, which is one of the reasons why we're here. And we're trying to help people who are building startups find the right knowledge or the appropriate place to acquire that knowledge. The blue ocean that disappeared, the case of Nintendo Wii.
That's a good point. That was really, I gotta agree. I've never played Nintendo Wii, but yeah, I think that is very interesting.
I think because there is technology that is the in between phases of technology. It's just in between. It's not yet. You had the handheld game, and then you had the ability to walk around with it. What is it? Right, the Wii. So the small, and then now you have tablets. So it's the in between, and there's really, truly no use for it. Like, why do we need it? And it's sad. It's true. Monty's like,
I've never played with the Wii. I'm not much of a gamer, even though I like Gree. Like, I met with Gree. Matter of fact, I need to reach back out to them. They're a gaming company that has a ridiculous level of billions of dollars in capital. They have like one of the coolest buildings in Silicon Valley, period. But their whole infrastructure is gaming and reality games, almost like Sims, but really kind of World of Warcraft kind of stuff. That might actually be their game, but it's a lot of people that are in that same space that are really trying to be.
What did they do wrong? I think
we or
yeah, they didn't pivot, they didn't move, so they saw the changing technology and they thought that their idea was the one that was going to stick.
Yeah, I think Nintendo. It's very interesting. Like, who is Nintendo? Is Nintendo Japanese or is it Korean?
Again, you know what? I love Google, and this for only this reason. And every other instance, I do not love them.
Yeah, I'm not a Google fan. Watch we get acquired by Google.
Don't say that. I'm not selling out unless And this is what someone says all the time. It's like, I got a price. Everybody has a price. Let's see. Did you know right before you came on, you met some people from DC who are interested in using Blab?
Really? Who are they?
They're interested in using Blab for talent discovery, and they're into music and different type of talent. So I told them that you'd be on. They said they would be back, so maybe you could connect with them in the future. Let's see.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, that'd be fantastic. We'll be talking from San Fran.
Yeah, but you're gonna be visiting, and I'm pretty sure Miss Vera, who is sort of the intellectual person in our community, is going to
Yeah,
come,
she is.
right? She's gonna come.
Yeah, she is.
Let's see.
Hey, Daryl.
Is that Daryl?
Yeah, that is the Daryl White. We were just talking about the book you wrote on Periscope. We're literally using you as a reference about innovation.
Mm-hmm.
Literally.
And stick-to-itiveness.
Yes.
You know, since you wrote the first book on Periscope and you were there to experience the first of Periscopes.
The very first.
Yeah.
We were just talking about you too. Say what you were saying again.
I was saying we're going to be in San Francisco and we're going to be going back and forth to DC. But Ms. Vera, who's the intellectual person in our community, is going to follow us, right?
Say it one more time, because she kind of heard you but didn't hear you.
I said we're going to be in San Francisco and then we're going to be going back and forth to DC. But Ms. Vera, who is the intellectual person in our community, is going to San Francisco with us.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Now I'm happy.
So,
what is it? Daryl says, "Who's behind you?" Daryl, don't play. I know you're talking to Monty. Sorry. There's Daryl. Look, author, first book on Periscope. Check dates. Periscope.biz or Periscope Book Biz.
Yep.
First book on Periscope. Okay, so where is we? We is located in.
What's up, guys?
Not a whole lot.
Yeah, no, I was talking about you, Andrea. There's like something spooky behind you. Yeah. No, just kidding.
What?
No, Monty. I was curious, like, who is behind you? Who's Miss Vera there?
Introduce yourself.
hello there.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Good.
I can't help but to hear all these wonderful things about you, and just want to introduce myself to say hi. Hope to meet you again soon.
Okay, nice to meet you. Yeah. What? Tell me, how are you and Monty in the same office? What are you doing there? If you want to share at all.
Oh, this is the
okay.
Yeah, he's over here, but this is the 9-5.
Okay.
This is what pays the bills for now.
Gotcha.
So,
she's coming to
welcome.
Okay. Awesome. Fantastic. Good to be there.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. All right. Cool.
See you soon.
All right.
Speaking of San Francisco, you should be coming to San Francisco with us too. You know.
Gotcha.
He's a stone's throw from you, Daryl.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
He's in Arizona.
Actually, right now I'm in Ohio at this exact moment. But yeah, I'll be back in Arizona here at the end of the week. So
is that 9 o'clock in Ohio?
No, it's the same time as you. Which I believe it's like 10:20, something like that right now.
Yep.
Yeah. And Andrea, is it still like 7 a.m. or something? Or
1 o'clock?
Something crazy in the morning? Okay.
Yeah, something crazy.
Something crazy. Okay.
Always.
There you go.
Crazy.
There you go. So yeah.
No one believes I'm on a private island because I'm always in the U.S.
On the map.
What's the map? What's the map say right now?
Who's your internet provider? Who does it kind of route through and stuff?
That's too much information.
Okay. Wow.
I'm joking. It's a company that's owned by it's Docomo. It's a Japanese company.
Oh, okay.
Oh, the same Docomo that we're going to be doing business with?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go figure.
Okay.
So maybe Docomo's doing it through Chicago, because it's basically saying you're in Chicago.
I don't know, some reason.
Yeah, it regardless, it says that you're in the States.
I
Interesting.
don't want to be here. Okay, it's
The only person we're missing right now is Boss Lady.
I know.
She's probably maybe still. She's in New York right now, right? So she's
Really?
unless she came back. All her posts recently have been on Broadway stuff to check it out, Broadway shows and stuff. So yeah,
I've just been liking it, not really paying attention to where it was.
Yeah, interesting. Anyway, you guys were talking about Blue Ocean Tech. So is that based off of the book Blue Ocean Strategy? There, I think that's the name of the book, right?
No, we were actually trying to get ideas of what the challenges are when you have an infrastructure. Well, what the challenges are with doing Blue. Well, you asked the question, Andrea.
Okay, so the question was, what are the risks associated with not embracing blue ocean technology from an economic perspective? What are the risks?
And what's your guys' definition of blue ocean tech? Let me back up to that. I think I know the
literal definition, which is to say, okay, go ahead. Monty's the ocean.
I would say pure innovation. I mean, in the classic sense, going from the idea of pre-iTunes to after iTunes. In terms of, there was always an infrastructure to say that we were going to go digital with, being able to have the engagement with CDs. We would put it onto the computer, and then it was like, okay, it's on your computer. How do you get it to your mobile device? Bringing iTunes into the fold meant that now there's an entire back-end infrastructure. I can download it directly to my phone. Oh, I don't need the CD anymore. I can just go to iTunes and buy it. Oh, I don't have to buy the entire CD. I can just buy the 99-cent album or whatever. You can do this entire process where it's all online. That twist, that shift is kind of blue ocean. What we talked about initially was the idea of how computers went from the transistor, that little transistor, which was a shift from the light bulbs, which were used for computers back in the day, from that transistor to the microchip was blue ocean shift. I mean, the fact that there is a microchip that you solder into the motherboard versus just having transistors that are into an entire system allows us to have technological innovation where every 18 months we're able to advance technology more than twice. And that's been for like the last 30 plus years. That's what we're saying in terms of blue ocean technology. And we're going back to the point of a new system, a new society. How are they dealing with challenges, or what are the big risks that they have when trying to implement a blue ocean concept? Say again? Oh yeah, hey Mike.
Sorry, I was just trying to agree without completely interrupting you, and I did.
No. But you know what? We got to get better at that.
Yeah. We are so poor at that. Very poor. But we're improving. Oh, thank you, Carol. See, that's what we need. Okay.
So yeah.
You need to write the first book on Blab too.
No, the first book on Blab I think has already. I haven't even checked, but I think it's already been written. I've been told by a couple of people. I haven't even checked on Amazon, but I think it's already been written a little bit ago. What was I going to say though? So that kind of aligns with my thought on Blue Ocean strategy. But as you guys probably already know, the iPod was definitely not the first digital recording device. There were a couple before it and stuff. It's just the approach and the strategy that Jobs and his team took, kind of catapulted it to the forefront. So that's kind of
It wasn't the iPod that was the innovation. It was the iTunes, the irony of it. So theirs was more the system of conveying system to their devices, and the entire, the one thing I think that is still sort of what Apple does exceptionally well is have everything combined in their one system. It's what people that are Android fans dislike. Android is universal. I can have an Android phone from Samsung. I can have it from Vio. I can have it from LG. They're all Android. Whereas with Apple, it's have an Apple device connected to an Apple device connected to an Apple device. So universe, in its iTunes universe, they allowed everything to be connected, which allowed all devices to have the same sharing of information. And that allowed them to create the entire new infrastructure, which is podcasting. I mean, again, that was innovation, but it's really essentially saying, okay, here's free information. Here's what can I do besides give you music? I can give you podcasts. And now there's entire podcast movements, literally. Like we have podcast movement that's going to be in April. Is that what it is?
Probably.
Don't ask me anything about time and space.
I could do a Google search right now and see podcast movements.
Yeah, Jared easily was like, "What are you doing? You need to know the information, man." But yeah, so podcast movement, I believe, it's going to be in Chicago. That much I know. It really will be in Chicago. Yeah, you're already there.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's going to be Chicago instead of Texas.
Nintendo is Hanhai Precision Industry Co. Ltd. Trading as Foxconn Technology Group. Headquartered in Republic of China.
China. That's what Nintendo is? Oh, interesting.
China.
Sorry, I was just looking around. Go ahead.
Bluetooth LTE is probably Blue Ocean. Well, I guess to some degree. I mean, it's the Bluetooth low energy is something that is a whole new market, and it allows you to have. Because the interesting part about Bluetooth LE is really saying advertisers could have beacons, and that's one of the things that we were looking into and talking about some years ago. I could have, and this is what Home Depot and Lowe's and a lot of those companies do. They'll have a Bluetooth low energy beacon that blasts right outside of it. So the second you come near any of these infrastructures, they're promoting their Wi-Fi, but they're also promoting that you log onto their network, which the second you log onto their network, you're giving them access to your device, and they know how to push advertising to you immediately.
Oh, just speaking of the podcast movement real quick. Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, I looked it up. It's July. It's like right after 4th of July is when it's going to be. But
it's really July?
Chicago. Yeah, right after 4th of July. So that'll be pretty interesting. Hey, what is up?
We'll be there.
Person who just came in. Hey, Rich DC Swagger. Okay. Is he?
Oh, that's him.
Okay.
It's that's Monty, the person from DC. Rich, come on. So Monty. So he's new to Blab, Daryl, just so you know, and this is Daryl beneath me.
Oh, I scared him away. I scared Monty away too.
Daryl. I know.
Man. I'll wait. I'll wait until Monty comes. Monty probably having some connection problems for the usual one.
Yeah. How was Christmas for you, Daryl?
It's pretty decent. Yeah, hanging out at my wife's parents' place right now and stuff. How about you? How was Christmas for you? Stuff.
It's very Christmassy. Great.
Very Christmassy.
And you know what all of that means, yeah. So.
Yeah. No. You hopefully got something that you're like. Okay, so Monty told a little bird, and Monty's back. Monty, go ahead and jump in. I'm scaring people away, apparently. So, what? What's? Come on, Monty.
He's coming. There you go. Oh, I forgot to make him I'm so bad at this. Let me just get my structure back together.
Okay.
Co-host, now you're.
I'll jump out for a little bit.
Oh, okay. I think I'm scaring people away, Daryl. You know, we're gonna have a talk about this. Let's see. I think currently Monty's just experiencing Wi-Fi issues, but he'll be back on. And if it's me who's experiencing them, I have no idea what to tell you. Mike, so let's just do a quick promo for the people in here, which is like 2 new people and our mastermind partners. And Mike is, I help entrepreneurs and companies grow businesses online by using the internet marketing, strategic planning, and brand development. Very cool, Mike. What is your site? That would be interesting to know. I think, let's see. MikeRicherson.com. Oh, Daryl's coming back. Let's see. Very cool.
Oh, well, as soon as Mike came on, as soon as I came on, Mike jumped out. I just want to jump in because, yeah, Monty is just kind of pulsing there. I'm not sure what's going on.
He does that sometimes. It's like,
I
I think.
was just trying to think as far as Firefox. Well,
Firefox.
somebody should know by now. Chrome is the browser.
Chrome doesn't work. Honestly, Chrome, I can't type with Chrome.
Oh, really?
It must be some kind of setting that I have that I just can't figure out. I don't know what it is.
Interesting. So, what if you wanted to get more onto topic there, blue ocean tech and that type of thing? Did you see, Andrea, economic risks of not embracing blue ocean tech? I think not a whole lot of people maybe know what that is. I mean, like, I know about blue ocean strategy. I don't know. I'll just shut up. I should.
No, I think because it's a hard question. No, here's why I'm asking, and here's why I want to talking about it. It's a hard question to answer. You know, technically speaking, if you want something innovative, you want something new, blue ocean tech is the way to go. But from an economic perspective, is there any true risk? And Ms. Vera, who's very smart, said the risk associated with actually doing it was like dealing with maintaining the infrastructure that comes along with embracing blue ocean tech in terms of the economy. So
I guess part of what we were talking about was doing it in a country that doesn't necessarily have it yet. So it's saying it might be red ocean for us in the States, but it's blue ocean for Japan, or it's blue ocean for Lithuania. So in this case, it's blue ocean for Guam. It could be red ocean for, Arizona, but it's blue ocean for Nevada.
Gotcha. All right, cool. I will jump out now since Monty is back.
Oh, I see you, Seth. Happy New Year.
Yes, Happy New Year. We will continue, I guess, in a week and a half and chat about a lot of good stuff. Always good to see you.
Yeah, I'm so happy you came on.
Yeah, I guess everybody but you is on the East Coast now. Technically, you're on the East Coast. You're in Chicago.
I'm in Chi-Town. Is that what it's called?
I'm not even sure where it's saying you are. It's making you somewhere in the States though. Like you might be in Oklahoma. I think you're in Oklahoma now. Yeah, it looks like. You're right above Texas, so somewhere between Oklahoma and Missouri. Well, see, that's not bad. Like putting you in Arizona isn't a bad thing. Because technically, that's the other thing. It's not going by IP address. It's going by Twitter, maybe? I don't know.
I was joking.
I have no idea what it's going by.
I was joking. Address thing.
That's one of the things we did wonder. It's like, oh, what are you guys going by? So.
Sarah says his map still puts
Arizona.
him in Arizona.
That's a good thing. It's at least somewhere close.
So maybe it has to do with the, no?
It probably has something to do with Twitter. I think that's the only thing they could do, because essentially whatever you log in from Twitter with is what they actually have associated with you. So if Twitter has it completely wrong, then everybody else has it. Yeah.
No, my Twitter location should be in Guam. Who knows? Let's see. Let me prove this point. Okay, just out of pure curiosity, because don't laugh. I can't handle it. I keep like. Let me see if this is true.
She's in the super secret location on the super secret island. So secret that they won't even put the actual information out there. The island doesn't exist.
Oh, that's why it says, because my country is worldwide.
Really?
I don't know how. I don't know.
That's crazy.
I think I like it like that. Worldwide. I'm worldwide. Twitter says so. So it must.
It must be, yeah. Right. If it's online, it's got to be true.
Yeah, I love that commercial. It's a commercial, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so I think we've exceeded our hour.
Yes, we have. It was like 9:30, I think, 9:30-ish kind of scenario, which is awesome.
great
Yes.
company. I mean,
Much love to Blab and the Blab universe.
mhm. And the first is coming up, so everyone keep us accountable. We're going to be doing some awesome interviews,
Yes.
some very professional.
Yeah, very structured, very organized, very different.
Okay. And we hope to see you, whoever is watching the recording, at a later date. Let us know if you want to attend our mastermind conference in San Francisco, or just want to sit down with us and talk.
So yeah, we're gonna have a mastermind and some meetups. So we're gonna be doing some cool things. Thank you, Monty, for attending. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so this is amazing because every time I see Monty here, I just get happy. I was like, Monty and Monty, Monty.
Silly.
Okay, excuse me.
All right. Catch you guys later.
Bye, Daryl.